Well, we are at Cafe du Mundo in New Orleans, and we are having ourselves these things that I cannot spell, and I can't really even pronounce them. I think they're called vignettes. Beignets. So we're at the Jackson Square area. There's a big old cathedral. See why we split it? That is a lot of food.
Crab cake over here.
We'll have that first.
Plates over down here.
Alrighty.
So this is the gumbo, this is the jambalaya, and that's the red beans and rice. Okay?
Fantastic.
Enjoy.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
In Lafayette, Louisiana, we took time to explore the swamps and get a closer look at the heart of Cajun culture, rich, vibrant, and full of character.
We know it's 500 because they bored a hole through it and counted the rings in it, so we know it's 500, expected to live another 1,500 years. And that tree's about topped off right there. You won't get no higher than that, but the base will keep getting wider. We got trees in St. Francisville, chat on it. Look, those are black-bellied whistling ducks taking off in front of us. We got trees in Louisiana that are over 2,000 years old. The base on those trees are wider than this boat is long. There's a turtle right there on the left, a couple of them. But y'all, when we see turtles, those will be the yellow-bellied sliders or the red ear. Same turtles you get in the pet store near a kid. And we may see some alligator snappers out here in the grass, so you want to watch for those too. If they got moss on the trees and green leaves, it's alive. A lot of these dead trees we see, a lot of people ask me, what's killing all these trees? Well, a lot of these dead trees are the tupelo gum. They only live 100 years. It takes that long for them to rot into the water.
Just outside Lafayette, Louisiana, we found ourselves deep in the heart of Cajun country, gliding through the bayous on a small, flat-bottomed boat, led by a local Cajun guide who seemed more at home in the swamp than on dry land. His voice had that rich, unmistakable accent, full of warmth and history. Around us, ancient cypress trees rose from the still water, draped in Spanish moss, their roots twisted and half submerged like something out of a dream. The water was like glass, so calm, so quiet, you almost whispered without meaning to. Our guide called it home, and you could see why. This wasn't just a tour, It was a glimpse into a world that's still wild, still untouched, and deeply rooted in the rhythm of the land.
They nest every year, and when the babies start flying, the mommy and daddy will take off out of here. They'll migrate out of here, they'll go north. They naturally can go anywhere, have been known to go anywhere but Antarctica. The babies will stay here for months, learning their skills, diving in the water, catching fish, and eventually they'll migrate out of here.
Vicksburg, Mississippi, perched above the mighty Mississippi River, is a city steeped in history. We walked the same streets where Union and Confederate soldiers once clashed during the pivotal siege of 1863. The old courthouse museum stood out, impressive, stoic, filled with relics from the Civil War and beyond. You could feel the weight of the past in every room. Afterward, we headed downtown and had lunch at a restaurant tucked on top of one of the old buildings. From up there, the view stretched over the river and the rooftops, blending history with a quiet charm that still lingers in the storied southern town. We are at the Vicksburg National Cemetery, and reminds us a lot of Gettysburg. Same type of layout with monuments along the road, dedicated to brigades and to states. Just shows you the complexities. Civil War is a war I've never understood because there were just so many moving parts, so many different brigades, so many intentions and counter-intentions. And when you look over the whole war here in Vicksburg, what a complicated and in fact they said it was the most complex operation ever in the Civil War, as they were trying to take Vicksburg, which basically was a very fortified town with a location that was very difficult to take over, and yet it was vital to the Union Army in order to win the war. So it was fought hard. They lost actually about 20,000 folks here compared to Gettysburg, which was about 56,000. So it was less of a loss spread out over more time, but basically a big part of the Civil War overall, and it really helped shape the destiny of the war and getting it closed down. All this happened in 1863. This right here is called the Shirley House. This was the headquarters here, and then they dug in a whole bunch of bomb shelters around the ground. Kim and I just saw a big mud pot right there on the other side of that monument, which is interesting to see a mud pot this high on a hill. And then the Mississippi River is out in that direction over that hill. If you look at the Mississippi River, there's a spot right here. It goes and makes this turn that way. And if you look out there, there is that turn right there. And then there's this thing they call the diversion canal, called the Yazoo River Diversion Canal. One can actually see that out there. We're on a bluff looking over the Mississippi River in Vicksburg. If you look out this way, we're looking towards the, I believe, west. Look how flat it is. You got this one spot is the bluff. You can see why Vicksburg was such a big part of the strategy for both sides, because from this position one could defend anything. This was an ironclad Civil War vessel owned by the Union during the Civil War. It was sunk on the Yazoo River, which we were just looking at. It was the first boat ever sunk by an electronically ignited bomb, and it sat sunk until that was, by the way, in 1862, and it sat in that condition until 1960 when they salvaged it. So this is the salvaging of that vessel, and they've actually opened it up as a museum. Since these boats were completely helpless if they had no steam power, they would actually keep them even when they were anchored, keep throwing coal in there and keep the steam fully hot and pressurized so they could go at a moment's notice. It was a lot of work. Man is at his best when he's figuring out ways to kill his fellow man or figuring out a way to worship God. Those are his two strong points. and he does his best work in the pursuit of each end of the scale. Eh? Looks like these ribs have been pretty much resurrected. You can see how they were done in laminations. See how it turned out? It's pretty cool. Good old ship work, ship carpentry. Actually, that must be the steam-powered motor or engine, I guess. And look at the paddle wheels there in the back. This is an old Army Corps of Engineer towboat that that was decommissioned in, I believe, 1990 or so, and they put it up on blocks, and here it is for a tour. I believe this would have been quite a handful to navigate up and down that river as it meanders around with different currents and different depths that are changing all the time. We came here to Magazine Mountain to see some beautiful views. What we really got instead was fog and weather and attitude. Last night we had some torrential storms with winds. Look at all the leaves that kind of glued themselves to the side of the motorhome. In fact, it was so bad we decided not to even connect up. We came in and boondocked for about the first 3 or 4 hours because it was just too miserable to go outside and do anything. But it finally cleared up at about 9 or 10. But in the meantime, we lost that tree. Kim was out here with the dog, and that tree blew over. Look how fresh it is at the top. And it blew over in that direction. In fact, that guy in that ladder, that area, he was scared about it possibly hurting his trailer there. In fact, he went in and they came out and they cut it up and got it out of the way so it won't hurt anybody. Yeah, so we're going to go out and see what's going on, and hopefully this thing will clear up, because the whole purpose of coming up here was to see what we can see. We are setting up our chairs at one of our favorite places here on Magazine Mountain. This is a hang glider launch, so there are no barriers here, so you can just kind of look all over the edge. And Kim's got herself a little bit of a glass of wine, and I've got my cigar, and we've got our view so we can put out anchor points as far as we can see. We were here a few years ago, and coming back to Mount Magazine reminded us why we loved it so much. This is the highest point in Arkansas, rising over 2,700 feet above sea level. It's part of the Wichita Mountains and its long-held significance, not just for its views, but for its history. Native American tribes once passed through these ridges, and later settlers and soldiers used it as a lookout point. Today, it's a state park known for its sweeping vistas, cooler temperatures, and dramatic cliffs. You can see for miles, from Blue Mountain Lake to the Cajun River Valley. Every overlook feels like a postcard, peaceful, quiet, and endlessly photogenic. It's the kind of place you don't forget, and once you've stood up here, it's easy to see why we came back. Well, look at this, Kim. Take a look at that. Why don't you grab it? What does it say on it?
I need a home. I guess found quilt.
I found a quilted heart.
Oh, that's what it, okay.
Yeah. Now we'll grab it. We'll put it somewhere else perhaps, or we'll look it up on the internet or whatever. Huh?
Yeah, kind of neat idea.
Yeah, on our way up to the summit here in the middle of Magazine Mountain. Well, this is a little bit later on. This is why we came to Magazine Mountain. We remember it from last time we were here. Across the way, those are cliffs right there. And then looking out over that way, I don't know how high, I think we may be 1,000 feet or so above the valley. Tremendous view. We're here all by ourselves. The fog has lifted, and Kim and I are sitting here having ourselves a cigar, new ones that we picked up in New Orleans that we think might be kind of good. We'll see. We toured Fantastic Caverns, where you ride through the cave in a Jeep pulling a tram. Totally touristy and a little tacky, but still fascinating. The cave is huge, beautifully lit, and full of natural formations that go back thousands of years. Later in Wichita, we experienced something altogether different, the Keeper of the Plains fire lighting ceremony. It takes place at the meeting point of the Arkansas and Little Arkansas rivers beneath a towering steel statue honoring the Plains tribes. As dusk settled in, flames lit up around the base, reflecting on the water and creating a powerful, reverent scene. It was simple, beautiful, and deeply rooted in tradition. A quiet moment we won't forget.
In Dodge City in Kansas, that's the Dodge City Police Department. I'm presuming they have jails. Then of course we have our bail service here. Man, I wonder if that's how tall the guy really, Arnez really was.
For the first time in my life, I literally got out of Dodge. From that point on, the journey shifted into the western and most exciting phase of the trip. The landscapes began to transform as we entered the Rocky Mountains, passed through the red rock canyons of Moab, and continued north into the open stretches of Idaho. From there, the route turned east again, winding through some of the most dramatic scenery of the entire adventure. That part of the journey is captured in the remaining videos.